friends. I thought we would have a little conversation about what I read the third week in October. I just finished some stuff and I'm very happy that I finished it. And I'm really excited to talk about it. First off, let me catch you up where I am with my audio reading. I am 5.5 more hours into The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb, which is the second book in the Live Ship Traders series. I'm wearing my Vestrit Trading Co. sweatshirt this morning to talk about it. I got this from Flowers and Fantasy Co. Absolutely love it. I don't know if they have more left, but absolutely so cozy. This is a reread for me, and I've been reading it so much slower than I read it the first time. I'm 75% into it, and I'm going to try and finish it today and tomorrow. I have 4 hours left, roughly, based on how fast I'm listening to it. And it's harder this time around because I know what's going to happen, and so I'm feeling like anxious about certain things happening. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it. No, I know this could be bad. I know it's going to make me feel upset, and I don't want to. Like, it's why, like, I still, during the beginning of the pandemic, right when things were getting shut down, I bought on Blu-ray the Avatar: The Last Airbender because I didn't have internet where I was living. We couldn't get internet out where I was living. And so I bought it on Blu-ray or DVD, I can't remember which one. And I got all the way up to the last 2 episodes and went, no. And then just started watching from the beginning again. So I have a tendency of doing that with things. So I'm like, do I finish, or do I just like be like, yeah, I set it aside at 75% and then be ready for Literary Diversion's live show, because it's really why I was re-listening to it, is to try to remember what happened in the second book versus the third. But the problem is I still don't remember what happened if it was near the end of this or if it was in the beginning of the third. So I need to listen to the end so I can remember what I can actually talk about if I choose to contribute in the chat of the live show. But I'm obsessed just as much, if not more, as I was before. And one of the things is, okay, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you've read the first book and any of the second book, you know that there's a whole thing about Paragon, the live ship Paragon, being absolutely mad. And he jumps from, like, Amber describes it as jumping from like an older soul, like a grown man being angry, to a petulant child, like constantly. And as I'm re-listening to this, part of the reason for Paragon's madness is given to us in multiple occasions. There's one scene where he's ranting and he's talking about, he's like, you don't have a soul, you're creatures. And it makes it seem like he's yelling at Brashen and Amber, but he's not. He's having like a flashback, and listening to it again, I know exactly who he's talking to and what he's saying. Like, not exactly who, but I know what he's referring to and what he's saying. And then there's parts where he's like talking about what it feels like to be on the water again. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I really want to do a spoiler video of these so I can be like, did you guys notice this? Like, I can't wait till we get, like, I need to talk to someone who's rereading them. Like, I need to talk to someone who's rereading them so I can be like, did you notice this? Like, because I'm like obsessed with, oh my god, that was foreshadowed. I mean, I already noticed when we get the reveal of who Amber is that, like, oh, that was foreshadowed, and Amber starts to say things in book 3 where I'm like, I fucking knew it, and then it's foreshadowed even more in book 2. So I'm enjoying it, but I'm also like experiencing a lot of like anxiety around it. So I'm ready to tighten my chair, it's really wobbly. Hi Hugan. Hugan came up to say hi because I got a little dramatic. So, okay, what did I finish? Last Thursday, I finished Eragon. I decided to just power through it. Hold on, let me get rid of the tippy taps. Hugan, can you go lay down? Can you go lay down on your bed, please? Good boy. Okay, I finished Eragon. So I never read these when I was a kid. I should have, like, this came out in 2003. I was 16. I would have been the perfect age for this, but I wasn't really into YA. YA seemed kind of like a new thing to me. And also I wasn't really into fantasy at the time. I have mixed feelings of this. I gave it like a 3.75-ish. I probably would round it up to a 4. But it didn't hold my attention. I thought the pacing was kind of weird. And I want to give him credit for writing this as a 15-year-old, because that is incredible, to have written this at 15 and that it be this long. And I think he got it published when he was like 19, so 4 years from like starting to write it to getting it published at that age is absolutely amazing. So what a feat for him. But I think I had some feelings about this being a rehashing. It's very Lord of the Rings inspired, and when I said that, one of my Instagram mutuals was like, I'm glad you mentioned Lord of the Rings, but also Star Wars. And I was like, holy shit, you know what? I actually noticed that because I was explaining it to my boyfriend, and I was like, oh yeah, there's this whole thing in the backstory with the dragon riders and the king. And I was like, and one of the dragon riders like turned to the dark side essentially and turned in all the other dragon riders. And I was like, that is a Star Wars. That is a Star Wars where one of the Jedis turns in all the Jedis and all of that stuff. So I was like, that is, and the Clone Wars I believe was fairly popular in 2003. So that would have been a thing that could have definitely inspired part of this. The dragon lore in here is pretty good. I do like it. I think it's solid. I think the story itself is solid. I just think the pacing was a little bit difficult and parts of it were kind of boring. At this point though, that could just be because it feels like it's been done so many times, and just because it has been. But I don't know how I would have felt about this if I'd read it when I was 16, about it, whether it was new or not. I do feel like 16-year-old me would have been even more cynical about this because I was a very cynical teenager, and believing that a 15, 16-year-old boy could just be an amazing sword master with 6 months of training, magic or not, could be so much better at magic than other people with 6 months of training. Like, I just find that very hard to believe, and I trying to put myself in the mind of a teenager, but I was an incredibly cynical one, so even then I probably would have been like, no, there's no way you can be an expert with 6 months of training. So those things are very hard for me. This does not pass the Bechdel test at all. There are 4 female characters throughout the entire course of the book. Hold on. You can quit licking. There's one girl in the beginning that his cousin Roran is in love with. And she's the daughter of the butcher. She's maybe in it she maybe has like 4 lines, and she's mentioned a few times. And then we meet this older woman, Angela, and her werecat. And so now I know, when I listened to the end of To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, and he was like, the woman and her cat is exactly who you think it is. And now I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, actually. I'm glad you put that in there, because she was actually the character I was the most interested in, and I would like to read just about her. I didn't really care about these boys and these men. Like, I didn't really care. And so she's in there. She never speaks to another woman. And then we have the elf that he rescues, who she spends most of the time imprisoned, and he can see her through scrying, or she's unconscious. That's literally like most of when we see her. She comes up a little bit in the end. There's a weird obsession with how small women's feet are. Women are always mentioned as having very small feet. That's kind of weird, I thought. And yeah, that was weird. We have the standard trope, I think, too, of good characters can do absolutely no bad things. We meet a character, this is mildly spoilery, but this book is 21 years old, so come at me. We meet this character, Murtagh. I did look up in the index how to say it. So we meet Murtagh, and he, where was I going? He rides with Eragon for a while, and he ends up protecting him multiple times and actually rescuing him when he gets kidnapped. And still, when we get revealed that Murtagh's father is one of the bad guys, is like the guy who turned on the Dragon Riders, immediately we don't trust him, and I find that odd, for one, because you've ridden with him for how many hundreds of leagues you've ridden with him, and he has not harmed you in any way, ever. He's actually protected you multiple times, and you still don't trust him. Like, he rescued you. He's like put up with your bullshit, and you don't trust him. So I found that kind of frustrating. And then there's a scene where they're about to be kidnapped by slavers, and they get into a fight, and Murtagh kills the lead slaver. And Eragon's like, you shouldn't have done that. You should have let him go. He could have changed. Like, and Murtagh's like, why would he change? What would make him change? It was better to have him be dead than have him know that you have a dragon and have him try to hunt us down. Like, why would we let him leave? And Eragon's like, I still don't think you should have killed him. And I'm like, bro, he was a slaver. Like, and Murtagh's like, he's a slaver. And Saphira, the dragon, is like, he was a slaver. Let him die. And Eragon, it's still one of those things where, like, we're supposed to take Eragon's stance as being the just one and the correct one, because good can't do any bad. And I think it was also kind of, I don't know if Avatar was out at the time, but Avatar, The Last Airbender, did this too, where Aang had like a no-kill thing. Batman has a no-kill thing. And it's kind of like that. Like, our good character can't be killing, but he's like willing to kill the essentially orcs in this book. So I think they're called the Urgles. He's willing to kill them because they're not human. But elves can't be killed because, oh no, we can't lose an elf. Like, so it's like, it's kind of weird on that stance. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable in certain aspects of it. But for the most part, it was a solid book, and I'm not mad that I read it. The next book I read, I am mad that I read. So this weekend, I started this on Friday, finished it last night, Sunday. I finished it Sunday evening at like 8 p.m. The Ministry of Time. I just filmed my review for this, and that'll be up this weekend, so I'll have a longer review, but I didn't like this. I found it disjointed. This is about a woman who's never named, who is promoted to the Ministry of Time, where she serves as a bridge with a man who's brought back from 1847. In this world, we have the ability to bring people back from specific times, and we're using it to test whether or not time travel has any physical effects on the body or mental effects on the brain. And each of these people, they bring back, I believe, 5 people. 1645, 1665, 1793, 1847, and 1619. So they bring back 5 people. They each get assigned a bridge that can help them adjust to modern day life after they've spent so much time in quarantine, to make sure they're healthy and not going to bring back any viruses. And also that they're sane and they're not going to try to kill people. Our main character gets in charge of 1847, who's Commander Graham Gore from an Arctic expedition. He was a real man. He was a real historical figure, and while he might be a small historical figure, I have a problem with him being in this book as a fictional character. When we are using his actual writings in the book to shape his character in the book, as well as like using his physical features and his name and everything. If we had just made him a conglomeration of other characters, of other like historical figures from that expedition, or made up an Arctic expedition that he could have been part of, that, like, because we're already dealing with multiple timelines, we could have just had a fake Arctic expedition that was modeled off of that one and not used a real person. I find that uncomfortable, and it gives me a little bit of the ick. This is part romance. It's not a romance, I guess, because it doesn't have a happy ending. So it can't be a romance. It is a romantic literary fiction with some science fiction elements and a bit of like a spy thriller mixed into the middle. It's very genre bending. It doesn't really fit in any one category, and it also doesn't really know what it wants to be. It starts off kind of slice of lifey, and then it goes into this, we gotta run from these spies that are trying to kill us, and there's a romance in the middle. That's pretty much what it is. I did not enjoy it. It was trying to be funny, and humor is so incredibly subjective. And the humor in here did not work for me, and it really put me off on the tone of the book from the beginning, because the humor wasn't working for me. So trying to be funny is very hard in a book, and I think it depends on how you feel about it from the get-go. I do think people who like historical romances might like this, because we have a woman falling in love with a man from the early Victorian era. He's all proper and tight-laced and stuff. One thing I forgot to mention in my review is that this does a little bit of the Born Sexy Yesterday trope, and I don't like that one. Like, it's like edging on the Born Sexy Yesterday, but with a man instead of a woman, and I still don't like it when we gender swap the Born Sexy Yesterday trope. It just feels exploitative. So I did not enjoy it. So that's what I read this week. I'm going, like I said, my upcoming week, my plans are I'm going to try to finish the Mad Ship and then maybe start Before They Are Hanged, because the library hold for that came through and I would like to finish it before the month is up. It just came through like on Friday, I think, or something. So I really want to get to it before I run out of time because it's another long audiobook. And then I'm going to try to read The Fury of the Gods, which is the third book in the Shadow of the Gods, as you can see the bottom of right here. The third book comes out tomorrow, or the day that you're seeing this comes out today, and I have an ARC, so I'm going to try and finish it this week so that I can post my ARC review, my advanced reader copy review. So I'm excited for that one. I'm 12% in, so I'm looking forward to settling back into that world, and reading something that I really enjoy, because I think I've been a little slow because I've not been enjoying things. This I flew through because it was easy to read and I just wanted it done. And then I did watch some stuff last week. I actually got caught up in The Only Murders in the Building, so I'm looking forward to the new episode coming out this week. Super excited. I love this show. This is like season 4, I believe, and it just keeps holding my attention, keeps getting better. It's so like cozy and funny and also dark all at the same time, and I enjoy the dark humor of it. So looking forward to finishing that. I have a crochet project I'm working on, actually 2. I gotta work on my book blanket some more, working on crocheting a shirt for my sister, and it's mine and my boyfriend's 3-year anniversary this weekend, so we're gonna go out and go out and do some of the things we did on our first date. So I will be looking forward to that and to having a relaxing weekend. So tell me what you were up to. What's your favorite thing you read last week, if you feel like it, and I'll see you soon with something else.